What is going on, guys? Most of Charles, and today I'm talking about Sony's and Ubisoft E3 press conferences a few days ago, because obviously I had already talked about Microsoft and EA's, so now I want to do it with Sony's and Ubisoft, as I mentioned on that video. So I'm gonna try and make this as short as possible because the last one was actually pretty long, and also there weren't really that many games that Sony and Ubisoft showed which I had interest in. So without further ado, let me just start off by talking about Sony's press conference, since it is the one that I was mostly interested in, and sadly disappointed me in many ways, even though there were some pretty good exclusive stuff that they showed, I guess, because they didn't really show any third-party stuff that they didn't have any exclusive rights to. Like, for example, Call of Duty, they have their exclusive deal with the map packs and stuff like that. Of course, they were gonna show that at their press conference, but something like, for example, indie games for this matter, it wasn't even showed this year. So it was a pretty underwhelming press conference this year from Sony, in my opinion, and I see from a lot of others. So they started off pretty strong, actually. They showed off Uncharted: The Lost Legacy with a new trailer, which by the way looked pretty beautiful. I really liked it, and the gameplay they also showed some few days ago, which is actually something that I was pretty curious about, why they didn't show that at the press conference instead, because they only showed trailers for the most part, barely any gameplay, barely anything interesting. So I'm pretty curious to know why they couldn't show this gameplay at their press conference. But it looks really good. I can't wait to play it when it comes out in around August. Don't really remember the exact release date since I haven't really followed up, but I know that I look forward to it nonetheless. Horizon Zero Dawn is the next thing that they showed, and it was also a DLC story trailer thing. It looked pretty beautiful. I can't wait to play it, and I think it was called The Frozen Wilds or something like that. I loved Horizon Zero Dawn, the main game or base game or whatever. I expect it to be a pretty good DLC. I'm pretty curious to know how long that DLC is gonna turn out to be though, because the price tag isn't that high, and because of that I'm kinda worried in terms of replay value. But I still look forward to see the story nonetheless, and I hope that Guerrilla Games will, well, first of all, make a new Killzone game, but also make Horizon Zero Dawn 2. That would be awesome. Next up is also Days Gone. They showed some gameplay. That is actually one of the few games that they showed with gameplay, and it looked pretty solid, I guess. I'm not a big fan of this Days Gone game because I have no interest in these kind of zombie games or whatever it is. And even though the story might be awesome and stuff like that, like for example The Last of Us, even though it isn't really zombies there, or at least from what I know, because I'm pretty sure they didn't want to call it zombies, but still it's kind of the same thing to me. But Days Gone has this zombie thing going, and I don't really know if I will play this kind of stuff because I'm not a huge fan of it. If there is something with zombies that I like, then it is in Counter-Strike with Zombie Mod and Escape, but in general I'm not a huge fan of zombies and stuff like that. But the next thing that I thought was pretty interesting at their conference was that they also showed a trailer for Shadow of the Colossus, which is a remake or a remaster, I'm not really sure, because I've never played this game before, but apparently it should be really good. So that is pretty awesome. It's made by Blue Point Games, so it's gonna be remade or remastered by them, and I just hope that they will remaster or remake the Killzone trilogy or the Resistance trilogy, because that would be something that I would love to see. And also if they could then remake Sly, Jak and Daxter and the Ratchet and Clank trilogy. But then again, Jak and Daxter is coming out with this PS2 PS4 emulator, so why can't Sony also just announce that with Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper? That would be awesome. But anyways, after that there weren't really much else I think that they showcased. I mean, Call of Duty World War II had a multiplayer trailer, looked pretty awesome, but the gameplay afterwards, from what I've seen, which isn't even on the press conference either, didn't look that fun. But what I really found interesting was that you can attach and detach, I think it was called, a suppressor from your gun, which is something that is like Counter-Strike, and I think that is pretty awesome. And that's about it. I don't really know if the gameplay will get me hooked during the beta or the full game when that comes out, but as it is right now it doesn't look too good for me. And maybe it's because I prefer modern era shooters and mostly that, and I'm not much for past or futuristic shooters, but still I think it's looking okay, and I will still give it a chance nonetheless. Hopefully it will change my mind. But after that they also showcased some PlayStation VR games, and I've recently gotten a PSVR headset, Bravo Team and Impatient or something like that, which is said before Until Dawn. That is a game that I thought was pretty interesting, even though I'm not gonna play it because I'm too scared to play those kind of games, and especially in VR, so I'm not gonna play that. But Bravo Team is something that I thought was really cool, and it is actually a game that I think will be pretty fun to play because I really like the London heist in PlayStation VR World, so hopefully it will be similar to that. Hopefully it will also be longer, because I know that London heist isn't that long at all. God of War, the next thing that they showed, trailer, looked awesome. Can't wait to see how the story is gonna turn out to be. So I look forward to see how God of War is gonna turn out. And next up is also Detroit Become Human. That is a game they showed. I've been waiting for this game in a little while because I was actually pretty happy with Beyond Two Souls story. And I actually also liked Heavy Rain, even though I never played Heavy Rain, but when I watched the walkthrough of it, it was a pretty good story. But it seems like they have a lot of short stories in this game because I think they've shown 3 different mini gameplay stories from different androids so far or something like that. So I look forward to see what this is gonna be and how this is gonna connect to each other with this android situation, I guess. And then there's also Destiny 2. Quickly got a trailer, showcase some of those exclusive things you'll get as a PlayStation gamer if you get Destiny 2. I haven't really looked into it because I don't have a huge interest in Destiny 2 yet, but I still look forward to see it nonetheless. And last but not least, I think Spider-Man was the thing. So Spider-Man, they showed some gameplay. A really fun game from what I've seen. It looks really great so far and I look forward to try that out. And then that concludes the Sony press conference with the games at least. Now, here's the thing what I didn't like about their conference. First of all, they only showed games. I mean, literally trailer after trailer. Sean Layden was the only guy who came up to the stage twice, at the beginning and at the end. That's it. Nothing else. And that is where my problem is, because I would probably say they should have done like in past years where they let some developers sometimes or some other Sony folks or whatever you call it, I'm not sure, but let them get on stage as well, talk a little bit to the audience, I guess, and keep it more interesting, because showing game after game after game is not gonna cut it, I guess, at least not for me. Because if they were gonna do it like that, I thought they might as well just upload it on YouTube and reveal it all on the PlayStation blog instead, because this way there isn't really much entertainment. And I know that E3 is mostly for the games, but I'd hope that they would have some people come up on stage sometimes, talk a little bit about their game. So disappointing year. Hope they will improve from, I guess, with PlayStation Experience or the next year's E3 and moving forward, they will have this traditional way, because Microsoft had the most entertaining E3 press conference this year, and I think they did a great job, but they also had some issues which I already explained on my last video. So with that said, I'm gonna move on to Ubisoft press conference now. And Ubisoft this year had a solid conference, I guess. Not really many games that I really look forward to, because I'd hoped a new Rayman game or a new Splinter Cell game would be announced, but sadly none of those were, and that's a shame. I think there were only 2 games that they announced which I really got interested in or excited about, and those 2 games were kind of already expected, because Assassin's Creed Origins was already shown at Microsoft press conference, and Far Cry 5 is already something that has been revealed, and the gameplay they showed was really short. I still have an interest in trying to maybe get Far Cry 5 or Assassin's Creed Origins or whatever, because I've always considered to get into those series of franchises. For this year's E3, it didn't cut it for me to have those 2 games. That's the only thing that I look forward to. And Beyond Good and Evil 2 was also a thing which I thought was actually pretty interesting, but I've never played the first game. I don't know how this game is gonna turn out to be. There were no gameplay obviously, so I don't know how this is. It actually looked pretty interesting, at least. I've never played it, so I think that's about it with Ubisoft press conference. They only had 2 games specifically that I thought was pretty solid, I guess, to show. So hopefully next year Ubisoft will have something like Splinter Cell, Rayman, and maybe a new other Tom Clancy game. That would be awesome. And that also means that this is gonna be the end of this commentary, and this is my thoughts obviously about it. I tried to make this as short as possible, but yeah, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully I will see you guys on the next one.